I'm Jessica Rhodes, and I'm here to help you rock the podcast from both sides of the mic. Today's episode is a listener question. I got this email from one of my viewers and podcast listeners. He says, "Hi Jessica, hope you're doing well. I'm emailing you today because I'm trying to get an idea of what I should be doing to grow my social media reach. Do you know of anything I should be doing or focusing on to ensure I'm doing the right things on social media? I'm at a loss of what platforms I should be focusing on and which ones I shouldn't be. I have heard to be where my audience is, but I haven't received any engagement from my audience to get an idea of where it is I should be focusing on. So with the lack of data, I'm unsure of what to be doing. Let me know whenever you are free." So Jeff, I am happy to help you in this video. It's hard to know where your audience is when your podcast is relatively new. Even if you've been podcasting for 6 months or even a year, you're still relatively new in the podcasting world because podcast listeners are pretty quiet. From what I know, so Jeff has a podcast. I'm familiar with who his audience is a little bit, and my recommendation, Jeff, is to focus on Facebook. Now, Jeff has a podcast for podcasters, and so do I. So I get a lot of engagement on Facebook. Now, Twitter is a platform where people are scrolling pretty quickly. They're looking at quick headlines, clicking on links, probably maybe scanning an article or looking at quick quotes. It's a fast-moving platform. Podcasters are people that are producing auditory content. They're listening to content that is long form, 30 minutes, an hour. Facebook is a place where podcasters are, or where people in general are engaging in conversation and spending a good amount of time. So there are also a lot of groups on Facebook where podcasters are interacting with each other. Now, LinkedIn is another platform similar to Facebook where there are forums, there is a scrolling news feed with links to different articles and podcast episodes, but it's more of a business audience. I think your audience, Jeff, is not necessarily business owners. There may be some podcasters that listen to your show that have a business, but mostly you are speaking to podcast producers, not just business people with a podcast or vice versa. So my recommendation is Facebook, but ultimately, if for anyone who's watching this and is trying to engage people on social media, they're trying to engage their audience and figure out where they are, you have to come up with a strategy and stick with it for a long time because it just takes time to get your podcast listeners to engage. You have to be consistent. If you try something for a few months and you're like, I'm not getting any engagement, then you switch somewhere else. Every time you switch strategies, you are trying to engage a new audience and you're just starting from square one every time. So pick some platforms where you think your audience is and focus there and just be consistent and be patient because it does take a really long time to get listeners to engage with you. I know. I've had my Roads to Success podcast for 2+ years. I've had this video show for 2.5 years, and it took quite a while before I started hearing from listeners. So figure out what platforms they might be hanging out and just stick with it. I am Jessica Rhodes. I'm here to help you rock the podcast from both sides of the mic. If you want to check out my podcast, my blog, my videos, go to jessicarhodes.biz. Thanks everyone. Have a great week and keep rocking the podcast. I'll talk to you next Tuesday.